Greetings, my name is Richard Gunderson, also known as Mr. Trader 911. This video titled Why Invest Money was produced by Trader Training Schools in October of 2011. In this video I'll cover why invest money, why don't people invest money, how much money to invest, and you might be surprised by some of the answers. The information in this video will be helpful to existing investors that lack training and their investing results just need some improvement. People that have decided to begin investing but they're not quite sure how to get started. And people that are searching for ways to produce extra income to cover their financial needs. I'm going to start with reasons people don't invest money. I'm often asked what I do for a living. When I explain that I teach adults how to invest in stocks, gold, silver, and exchange-traded funds, I often hear some interesting responses that provide insights into why people don't invest money. These responses generally fall into one or more of the following 7 categories. The first category is people who say, "I don't know anything about investing." And this is probably one of the most common responses I hear. Secondly, "I bought a mutual fund once. I still own it, but I'm not sure what to do with it. It's never made me much money." Third, "I don't have the right educational background to learn how to invest." Fourth, "I invested in stocks a while back, but I really didn't know what I was doing. As a result, I never made much money." Fifth, "I'd really like to learn how to invest, but I'm getting too old and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks." Sixth, "I'd really like to learn how to invest, but I don't have any relevant experience or training." Seventh, "I have a friend that advises me on how to invest my money, but I still seem to lose more often than I'd like." Looking at these 7 categories of responses, 2 things stand out. One is fear, and the second is lack of knowledge. Let's start with fear. It's probably the biggest factor causing people not to invest money. Could be fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of loss of security. Fear often cripples a person to the point that they're unable to make a decision. The source of fear could be external circumstances that can't be controlled, or internal conflicts that, once understood, can be addressed. Let's look at external circumstances. An example might be bankruptcy, or your mortgage company's filing to foreclose on your mortgage. This is legitimate fear, and I don't suggest anybody invest money under these circumstances. But then there's internal conflicts. Some fear is self-generated, and it can be overcome. For example, several years ago I rode in the passenger seat of a NASCAR race car at the Petty Driving Experience at Disney World. A professional driver did the driving. It was thrilling to experience the speed of moving around that track at speeds over 100 miles per hour. I would love to be able to drive a NASCAR race car myself around the Daytona 500 racetrack at 150 miles an hour. Without training, I could destroy a very expensive race car. My life would be in jeopardy. I'd never take that risk. With training from a skilled, experienced instructor, I would be willing to give it a try. After a few laps at 100 miles per hour, the fear would probably diminish. As my confidence increased, I might be willing to increase my speed to 120 miles per hour. Eventually, I might even reach my target of 150 miles an hour. There's a similarity between driving a powerful race car and investing your money. Without proper training, there would be a lot of fear. The consequences could be disastrous. With proper training from an experienced trainer, you could begin on a small scale. Eventually, you could become more proficient and successful. But why invest money? If you asked 50 different investors as to why they invest money, you would probably get 20 different answers. A common theme would likely be, "I invest because I want to make money." Consider the following additional reasons why a person should consider investing money. Number 1, we're no longer living in the good old days when most everyone had a job. The cost of living was fairly stable. The market value for our homes was rising, and it was fairly easy to make ends meet financially. Secondly, the future has become more uncertain. Our retirement benefits may be at risk. Our Social Security benefits may be at risk. Thirdly, It's getting harder to predict what our cost of living will be in the future. Will our retirement benefits or savings cover our retirement living expenses? Number 4, global competition is impacting the value of the dollar, and inflation is a real threat, in spite of what the politicians in Washington might say. Just look at what's happening to the cost of groceries, gasoline, medical costs, insurance, and taxes. So the answer to why invest money is fairly clear for most of us. We need to take more responsibility for our own financial security. There are very few alternatives that will meet our short-term financial needs. We can't count on the government to meet our long-term financial needs. Many American families have already tightened their belts and cut their expenses to the bone. Although cutting expenses is the right thing to do, by itself, it may not be enough. Years ago, my employment situation changed. I was laid off, and it became clear that I needed to do something to supplement our family income. I looked at a number of alternatives. I had been investing money, but had not pursued any formal training. As such, the results weren't that great. I believed investing had the potential to be the answer I was looking for. At that time, I was using a stockbroker and asking his advice whenever I made an investment. I told my broker that I was no longer satisfied with making 6% to 8% a year on my investments, and I wanted to achieve 20%. My broker told me I should be happy with 6 to 8% a year. That was the end of seeking my stockbroker's advice for investments. I decided it was time to begin making my own investment decisions. The following year, I became more focused in my investing. I already had an online brokerage account, so I could buy and sell over the internet bypassing the stockbroker. I invested in some high-quality training. It wasn't cheap, but it was very good. That year I grew my investment portfolio by 20%. Consider 4 little-known secrets about investing. Number 1, you can learn how to invest regardless of your age. I have taught students in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they've all responded very positively to my training. Number 2, regardless of your past education, training, and experience, you can learn how to invest. I've taught students that knew nothing about investing when they came into my class. I've also taught students with 4 or more years of investing experience. They all found this classroom training to be very valuable. Number 3, investing is risky, especially when you don't know what you're doing. With training, you can predict your reward and your risk before making an investment. There are some very specific things you can do to minimize your risk. It's not difficult, and you can learn how to take the right steps to protect your investments. Number 4, in spite of the uncertainty in the economy and volatility in the stock market, there are ways for you to make money, but you need to be trained. With training, you'll know how to find these opportunities. How much money should a person invest? This is a very important question, and it's a personal question that each individual has to decide for themselves. The key is to make sure you have sufficient income or savings to cover your basic expenses. In spite of training, you can't assume you're going to immediately start making big money investing. Identify that portion of your money that you can afford to invest without losing sleep at night. My passion is to teach adults how to invest money regardless of their age, their past training, and their past experiences. I believe in classroom training, where you have an expert investor and experienced trainer available to answer your questions on the spot. I also believe that the cost of this training needs to be affordable, not the typical $3,000 to $7,000 that some large companies charge for similar training. If you'd like to know more about this training, I encourage you to go to my website at getfinancialsecurity.com. If this is something you're interested in, please don't delay. You don't want to be left out, as seating is limited and there are registration deadlines to consider. I look forward to hearing from you soon. This is your opportunity to get financial security.